What do you do when the life that everyone admires no longer feels like yours? At the age of 52, I was at the height of my executive career. I had a penthouse apartment in Munich, global role. I traveled the world, 6 continents, and very regularly as well. I had luxury cars. But living the dream from the outside, inside something had gone quiet. And in this video, I want to share why I unplugged from the corporate life, what it taught me about fear, and how you can recognize when your own life is asking you to shift. Sometimes it does it and you kick and scream against it. At other times it happens subtly. It's very important to recognize when that shift starts happening. Hi, I am Pietro Pazzi. I'm a leadership depth coach with 3 decades of leadership experience across the globe. Most people think transformation begins when life falls apart, and sometimes it does. But sometimes transformation begins when everything is working except your soul. This is much harder to explain. It's not that difficult to recognize and identify either. And I think there's a lot of people today going through some sort of deep transformation and not quite sure what's going on. If you lose the job, the business, the relationship, people understand why you're changing. But when you have status, money, success, recognition, and still feel an inner restriction, people often say, what are you complaining about? Why are you so restless? Why do you want to move? Why do you want to shift? But I think for me, it's not a question of how do I impress or how do I keep living the dream? The deeper question is this still true to me? You see, in my life, I have chosen that self-development and personal growth is priority for me. I call it a mission almost, a purpose. In the previous video, I spoke about the identity shift that I went through or just emerging from at the age of 62. And in this particular movie, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what happened to me a decade ago now, and why I opted out. For almost 2 decades, I flowed through my corporate career. I really enjoyed it, and that wasn't because it was easy. It was taxing at times, but I thrived. I took on difficult opportunities. I learned, I contributed, and I grew. I never shied away from challenges. And I think part of that came from my earlier collapse in my early 20s when I went bankrupt and lost almost everything I had. But I'll tell you more about that in another video. That experience gave me a huge gift, the kind of stuff you don't learn at Harvard Business School. And that is it stripped away the fear. It took it down to a perspective that really makes sense, at least for me. Because once you've been down and out and life still goes on, something changes in one. Fear still visits, but it no longer gets the run of the whole meeting. Definitely not in my life. And that fearlessness has allowed me to take on opportunities and take on experiences that I think many others shy away from because of fear. But here's the important part. Fearlessness without self-awareness can become recklessness. And I think self-awareness is a vital key. I know a lot of people post about that on social media and talk about it. But self-awareness is what helps you know whether you are moving from truth or you're just reacting. For me, I think journaling became a mirror. I used to journal quite a bit, especially in my 20s and 30s. And I really got to know many aspects of myself and resolved a lot of the things that were happening in my life at the time. I mean, by journaling, I don't mean writing down events. It's not a diary. It's things you ask questions like, what is really going on in me? What am I avoiding? What is life trying to show me now? Because you cannot make a truthful shift if you are not willing to tell yourself the truth first. Several times in my career, I chose learning and growth over status and security. I changed companies. I changed roles. I changed countries even. And more often than once, people said, "Why are you taking a step backwards?" But not long afterwards, those so-called backward steps opened into something much bigger. It's almost as if it was jet fuel. And as a rocket takes off, it takes off slowly. And then suddenly it just goes. And that was the sort of sense. It's trusting yourself when to make the shift. And that taught me something, that upward movement doesn't always appear upwards at first. Then in my early 50s, something different happened. And we're back at the 52 now. I reached a plateau. It wasn't like a lazy plateau or a failure plateau. It was more like a completion plateau. A new CEO arrived. Executive politics increased everywhere. People were jostling for positions. More global responsibility came my way, but not with the required support or the resources needed to get the job done well. And even when I was nominated for a year-long executive development program at Oxford SIAD, I remember thinking, I've heard this before. I've learned this stuff already. The symbol was prestigious. The substance felt empty. That was the signal. Sometimes life whispers before it shouts. Restriction is often one of those whispers. It certainly was for me at that point in time. You feel less alive in the rooms where you used to feel energized. You stop being curious. You start performing competence instead of living a purpose. For me, that signaled the end of a long and rewarding chapter. The decision to unplug wasn't made alone. My then girlfriend, now my wife, and I decided to cash in. She was of like mind. She felt there was something more in life than what we were currently experiencing at that time. So we cashed in share options, we took packages, and we made a clean break of it. And we chose to explore another existence on a tropical island in the South Pacific. But I'll probably get into that in another movie, a bit of details about what is island life really like. Now, people can call that brave, irresponsible, romantic, or foolish. Maybe from the outside, it looked like all of those things. But from the inside, it felt aligned. Trust does not mean you know the outcome. Trust means you are willing to move when staying has become dishonest. I was not running away from work. I was walking towards a life that I could breathe again. And one practice that helped me stay grounded during that experience was gratitude journaling. I would ask questions like, what is still here? What is enough today? What is quietly good? Studies in gratitude journaling found that people who regularly recorded things they were grateful for reported better life evaluations and more optimism than comparison groups. Now, gratitude does not remove uncertainty, but it stops uncertainty from becoming the whole story. Short interruption, I have a gift for you. I have several resources that I've made available to you that have worked for me, have worked for my clients, and they are available for you on my website under the resources section. There you'll find 2 planners, significant planners, 32-page odd planners on the leadership journey, and the other is manifestation planner. I have 3 assessments. One is about self-awareness, where you act in terms of self-awareness, the 6 leadership capabilities and competencies, or anchors as I call them, and then the wheel of life. Then there is a whole bunch of guided visualizations that I've done, audio recordings that you can download, and a couple of guides. Introduce you to several tools, like working at the inner level, your operating system. And then I have infographics page, and there I continue to load the infographics that prove to be popular in the other platforms where I load them, loaded with insights and information, that things I've learned over the years. All available for you on my website. Go get them. Back to the video. Here's a simple way you can approach this. I call it notice, test, and support. First, notice the signals. Where do you feel the restriction? Is it in your body, your mood, your energy? And how do you speak about your work? For me, the signal was the corporate world no longer felt alive. The politics, the positioning, the empty prestige, it all felt too small for what was emerging in me. Secondly, test the truth. Get clarity. Write down what is no longer true. Be specific. Not my job is bad but I no longer feel aligned with the culture, or I am using competence to hide the fact that I feel empty. Do not immediately blow up your life. Experiment. Speak to someone in a different field, or the field that you might have an interest in at the time. Take a silent weekend. Explore the ideas quietly. See whether the signal fades or strengthens. A real ship usually becomes clearer when you give it space. And then thirdly, build support before you leap. Do not try to become a hero. Have the conversation with your partner. Find a coach, a mentor, a therapist, a trusted friend, or a peer group. Tell the truth to people who can hold it with you. Be selective. Not everyone will get what you're trying to do. Transformation is personal, but it should not be lonely. The shift begins inside you, but the courage to follow it is often built in relationship. At 52, I did not unplug because I had failed. I unplugged because I had completed something. That is an important distinction. There are times in life when the brave thing is to keep going. And there are times when the brave thing is to stop pretending that the old dream is still alive. The deeper shift is this. You are not here merely to protect the identity you have built. You are here to become available to the life that is still trying to emerge through you. Fear asks, what if I lose what I have? Trust asks, what if I become more truly who I am? That question changed my life, and it may change yours too. If this video spoke to something in you, I'd love you to subscribe, because on this channel we'll explore leadership, identity, inner work, transition, and what it means to live and lead with more depth. And if you are a leader who has achieved a lot outwardly, but senses something deeper is now asking for attention, I invite you to explore my leadership depth coaching at pietropazzi.com. You can also book a complimentary 30-minute exploratory chat with me. You'll find both links in the description below. It was great having you with me on this video. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Now, go listen to what life is calling of you and what you need to explore.